Hey everyone, so I'm going to start a new segment called Reading You Part of My Favorite Book to Convince You to Read It. This is part one. So I'm going to just kind of pick out different books that are my personal favorite that I feel like don't get nearly enough credit or nearly enough recognition. And yeah, so the first book that we have today that I chose is because this is like my personal favorite book. It's called The Rose Gate by Hannah Sandvig, and it is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it is just my favorite. So I'm hoping that my reading aloud prowess might convince you to read it. So here we go. I'm going to read you an excerpt. I think it's an excerpt that Hannah herself uses in one of her other books. I think that she actually uses this chapter as kind of like a sneak peek chapter. I believe she used it in one of her other books that I read. So this is going to be the my goodness. This is going to be the sneak peek chapter for you guys because it also happens to be one of my personal favorite moments. However, I'm going to back it up a little bit. I'm going to back it up to like maybe a few sentences at the end of the previous chapter to kind of ease you into it. So I guess first, I'm going to quickly read to you the description of the book to see how you like it. It is a modern, like, fae Beauty and the Beast retelling, but here's the description. Once upon a time, a girl from our world found a gate to the fairy realm. All Isabel wants is a quiet place to read, but apparently that's too much to ask. She only needs to make it through one last summer with her broken family before she can leave for university and get on with her life. At least she has her books and the solitude of the woods. But there are wolves in these woods. Caught out in the forest after dark, Isabel is pursued by a disturbingly intelligent pack of wolves. When the grizzly bear who rescues her turns out to be a cursed fae prince, she realizes her life isn't the only thing in danger. She could lose her heart. Trapped by the wolves at the prince's home in Fairy, Isabel tries to unravel the mystery behind the surly prince's scars, because time is running out for the castle's inhabitants, and if Isabel can't find a way to break the spell and save the prince from the unseelie queen, she may lose everything she's come to love. Ooh. So if that didn't convince you, then I think this will. So this is sort of the end of chapter 4 that I'm going to read to you, and then I'm going to read chapter 5 to hopefully convince you to read this. So anyway, all you need to know is that this is the part of the story where Isabel gets stuck in the woods after dark and the wolves are after her, but she was just rescued by a gigantic grizzly bear. However, to her perspective, she thinks it's just a regular grizzly bear, and she accidentally falls down, hits her head, and when she wakes up, she is being dragged by the grizzly bear. Remember, at this point, she thinks she's in, like, the movie The Edge or something. Like, she thinks she's gonna die. Like, she doesn't know that this is, like, a fae prince. She thinks it's a bear. So that is where we're gonna pick up, is she is being dragged by a bear. So here we go. Whew. This is my first time, can you tell? The idea of being eaten was bad enough, but being buried alive was one step too far. I panicked, scrambling my feet on the ground and attempting to twist away, which did nothing but scrape my arm painfully against the teeth before the bear blessedly let go. I could see dimly now. The moon must have come out from behind the clouds, because it was suddenly bright enough to make out some things. Not far, but I could see my feet. I pushed myself up in an attempt to run, but I'd forgotten about my injured ankle, and it gave way once again. Strong arms caught me, and I fought against them as well, confused but in no mood to stay and see what had happened to the bear. Shh, Allen, came a soft voice by my ear. Sleep. Those arms caught me up against a solid body that began walking as a sudden, overwhelming wave of drowsiness overcame me. I did, indeed, sleep, the scent of roses surrounding me. That is the end of chapter 4. Are you titillated? Are you intrigued? So here we go. Here's chapter 5. This is one of my favorite chapters as well. Can you see my excitement? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Chapter 5. There you go, Arlen, said a low, gentle voice. I opened my eyes. A big beast of a man hovering over me. He had a brown, bushy beard, and his long hair had twigs stuck in it. It was his face, however, that was truly shocking. One gray eye stared into mine, but the other side of his face was sliced with old scars from top to bottom, his left eye completely gone. What had happened to him? I lay on some sort of velvet couch as he tied a bandage around my injured arm that looked much cleaner than I would have expected given the ragged state of his dark clothes. I shrank back from his touch and glanced wildly around me. Stone walls and gilded furniture were lit by sunshine pouring through the velvet-draped window. This was not the miner's cabin, and how long had I been unconscious? Why did my arm not hurt more? A wolf bite should have been throbbing, but it was just a dull ache. The man reached toward my bandaged arm, and I jumped, pulling back from the one-eyed monster. He made a shushing noise, like you would to a crying baby or a skittish animal, but I was not shushed. I needed to get out of here. You see, my lord, said a raccoon, popping its head up beside the bed. I told you to shave. You look absolutely terrifying. I blinked at the raccoon. Nope. This was not okay. What sort of drugs did you give me? I shrieked at the beastly man, who drew back, looking startled. I kicked off the light blanket covering my legs and tumbled to the floor. I didn't give you anything. You don't understand. The man reached for me, but I scrambled away from him and got to my feet. Where did you bring me? My voice rose as I edged toward the door. He started toward me, and I didn't wait for an answer. I bolted for the door and swung myself out into the hallway. Whatever this place was, it was huge, but the massive stairway to my left seemed promising, so I ran to it, my bare feet sinking into the thick rug that ran down the middle of the stone floor. I spun down the twisting stairwell. I had no time to waste. The one-eyed man looked about 1.5 feet taller than me. He'd catch up to me quickly. But I had terror on my side, and the stone stairs were much easier to navigate than a slippery path in the dark. My twisted ankle seemed completely healed, and even the bite on my arm was more itchy than painful. How long had I been asleep? I stumbled into a foyer and had a brief impression of gilded mirrors and glass lanterns before I pulled open the heavy oak doors. I paused and sneezed at the bright sunshine. Wait! The man sounded closer behind me. Too close. Nope, not waiting. I yelped as my feet hit the gravel path at the bottom of the stairs. I ignored the sharp little rocks as I passed exuberant rose bushes edging the path. A high stone wall surrounded the garden, but at the end of the path, a stone arch covered by roses formed a perfectly circular gate. I could vaguely make out a dirt trail on the other side. It must be the way out. It's not safe! I glanced back and almost tripped at the sight of the grand stone castle behind me. How far from home was I? Surely I would have heard if there was a castle anywhere near Pilot Bay. A question for another time. I needed to focus on escaping the crazed man behind me. He had almost caught up to me by now. You need to wait till the sun comes up. It's daytime. What are you even talking about? I gasped, but didn't wait for an answer. I dashed through the rose gate toward freedom and plunged into darkness. My feet slid on the muddy path and my eyes strained to adjust to the sudden lack of sunlight. My shoulder smacked against a tree, and I held it to keep myself from falling. I was back in the forest where the wolves had been chasing me. I heard a soft snarl. The wolves were still chasing me. It was as if the castle with the roses and the talking raccoon had been a vivid dream, which, given the talking raccoon, actually made a lot of sense. My eyes adjusted to the dark just in time to see the wolf launch itself at me. Then a breathy snarl made me flinch to the side as the giant grizzly bear appeared from behind me. The bear knocked the first wolf to the ground, but 3 more leapt onto him, sinking teeth into his shoulder and foreleg. I stumbled back a couple of steps and found myself blinking in the bright rose garden again. What? It had to be some sort of portal? magic doorway? I was back at the castle, and the forest with the wolves was somehow on the other side. And so was the bear that had saved my life twice now. He'd been covered in wolves when I left. He was pretty big, but those odds didn't seem fair. I spied an old pitchfork leaning against the garden wall. This was a terrible idea. I grabbed it anyway and jumped back through the arch of roses. Darkness swallowed me again, but I swung the pitchfork with all my might at the wolf on the grizzly's shoulder, yelling at the top of my lungs. After all, she who hesitates is lost, right? The wolf fell to the ground, dazed, and the bear and wolves all paused and stared at me in shock. Well, yes, I was surprised too, but I rammed into the bear with my shoulder in an attempt to push him back through the portal. Of course, nothing happened as he was roughly 4 times my size. The wolves began to circle back around us, snarling. "Move!" I yelled. He blinked at me, then turned and tumbled backward, disappearing into thin air. I ran after him, praying that whatever magic was at work here, the wolves would be unable to follow us. The smell of roses washed over me again, and I stood back in the garden, the stone castle basking in the afternoon sun. The bear was nowhere to be seen. Instead, the tall, dark, and scraggly mountain man stood in front of me, swaying on his feet. Blood dripped from his arm and soaked through the shoulder of his dark shirt. I suppose, in a world with magic portals and talking forest creatures, I shouldn't be surprised, but... "You're the bear?" He nodded, and what I could see of his face between the hair and the beard seemed pale under the scars. "And when you told me to wait until sunrise, you didn't mean that sun, did you?" I pointed up at the cheery midday sun. "I did not." "Okay, 2 more questions for you." I took a deep breath. This was clearly crazy. "Where am I? And, are you going to pass out on me?" This is Kilinair Castle," he replied. "You're in Tirnanog." "Tirna what now?" "Fairy," he said. "You're in Fairy." "As for your second question, I hope not. But can we please go back inside now? I believe all the medical supplies are still laid out in the parlor." He touched his injured shoulder gingerly. "All right, Bear." I motioned for him to lead the way. "Back to the castle we go, but no fainting on me. You would squash me like a bug." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your little sneak peek at one of my favorite books of all time. It is such a sweet and cozy and beautiful fae romance that is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And yeah, I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed it. This has been a long time since I have read aloud to literally anyone, so I hope that my stumbling over some words and trying to pronounce things wasn't too distracting, but I'm hoping that the more I can do this, the more easy it will come. I'm even thinking of maybe doing live streams in the future of me reading some of my favorite books aloud, because honestly, I miss reading aloud to people, particularly kids, but I don't know how to make that happen in my everyday life, and I also don't know how I can get paid for it. So who knows? Let me know down in the comments, should I do this as a regular thing? And should I do it on YouTube in particular? You know, get that YouTube monetization. I don't know. Let me know what you think. And also, would you read this book after, hearing my little excerpt that I read? Yeah, I think that's everything. But yeah, let me know. I love you guys, and thank you so much for watching, for indulging me, and yeah, thanks for everything. And also just stay tuned for maybe more videos like this one where I read some more. There's no shortage for me of favorite books. And oh dang it, there's always one thing that I'm missing. Yeah, let me know if I should continue doing this, and also stay updated for no, not stay updated. Stay tuned for any writing updates that I have for you guys. All right. Love you. Bye.